If the name Pete Frates sounds familiar, it's no wonder. The former Boston College baseball player was diagnosed with ALS, or Lou Gehrig's disease, 4 years ago. 2 years later, Frates sparked the phenomenon known as the Ice Bucket Challenge, a viral sensation that raised hundreds of millions of dollars in the fight against ALS. That fight took a drastic step forward just 2 months ago with a medical discovery made possible by those funds. Here's Robert Flores.
Hi, my name is Pete Frates, and this is the Freight Train. We are here to conduct my ALS Ice Bucket Challenge.
It was called the Ice Bucket Challenge. It started in the summer of 2014, and it became one of the most famous viral sensations of all time. It also became one of the most important. The guy you see here is Pete Frates. He's the reason what happened after the ice fell became history.
Pete was actually a three-star athlete in high school. He played football, hockey, and baseball, and ended up in my husband and my alma mater, BC, to play baseball.
After serving as captain his senior season at Boston College, Pete settled in locally and continued to play the game he loved. 4 years later, during a rec league game, he was hit on the wrist with the fastball. 6 months later, he was still unable to shake the injury.
He said to us, I have a doctor's appointment, and would you guys like to come? Because he does have a diagnosis for what's going on with my hand.
And the doctor says, this is not the common cold. This is not Lyme disease. This is not cancer. And every time he was doing it, he was elevating his hand up the ladder. I'm like, my God, where's this guy going with this?
I was looking at him like, what is he going to say?
And then he said, Pete, I don't know how to tell a 27-year-old guy, you have ALS.
And that was when we looked at the doctor and said,
it was 75 to 80 years ago with the famous ball player Lou Gehrig. Certainly there had to be a treatment.
His words exactly, Mr. and Mrs. Frates, I'm sorry to tell you, but we've made no progress in the fight against this disease.
Handed a literal death sentence, Pete gathered his family and set forth a new goal.
Pete looked up and he says, okay. He goes, all right, people, there'll be no wallowing and no whining. He says, I'm going to change the trajectory of this disease.
And change it, he did. 2 years after that declaration, Pete's friend and fellow ALS patient Pat Quinn introduced Pete to the Ice Bucket Challenge.
And Pete said, you're going to start seeing people pouring ice water over their heads on the Facebook feeds. He says, I want you to get strategic. I want you to like, comment, share, tag people of influence for every single one that comes across our newsfeed.
I am doing this in honor of Pete Frates.
Pete Frates. And this is all to raise awareness for ALS and Pete Frates.
It wasn't until the Ice Bucket Challenge that suddenly people saw Pat Quinn and Pete Frates and people living with ALS and the enormous outpouring of support from the community to help these people living with ALS.
ALS was unheard of, was underfunded, and Pete knew that, and he really took it to heart. And so when the Ice Bucket Challenge happened, and I know even me, being the mom of an ALS patient, sitting and watching people say ALS over and over again.
The ALS Ice Bucket Challenge.
But the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge.
The ALS Ice Bucket Challenge.
In the first few days, we were just astounded that it raised $1 million, $2 million. We couldn't believe it.
There's hope. There's people fighting for us. There's money coming in.
There was a period there in August where we were raising $10 million a day for a week straight. So once it started to get up towards $100 million, we were just absolutely blown away.
From former presidents to global CEOs, nuns to representatives from all 30 Major League Baseball teams, over 17 million Ice Bucket videos were posted and $220 million raised, the result of which led directly to a significant discovery this past July.
Thanks to the Ice Bucket Challenge, we found NEC1, this gene that is one of the most common in people living with ALS that we've identified yet.
I think that's the greatest satisfaction Pete's getting, is that he knows his efforts and how he has handled his challenge will make it better for ALS patients that are going to follow him.
We have a couple potential treatments in clinical trials within the next year or two that will hopefully lead to a treatment that helps stop and ultimately cure this disease.
And so, almost 8 decades later, the fight against ALS has gone from Lou Gehrig and his iconic farewell speech to Pete Frates and his Ice Bucket Challenge. And for Pete and his family, the fight continues.
He's locked in a mortal combat duel with ALS. We call it the beast in this house. But the beast has been mortally wounded. The beast picked on the wrong guy. He picked on the wrong family. And the beast is now starting to give up its secrets. And it will be destroyed.
Just last week, Endicott College in Pete's hometown of Beverly, Massachusetts, dedicated a dorm in Pete's honor.